Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Professor Ipshita Bansal from BPS Women's University, Sonipat, Haryana. Today we will be discussing about the module Structure and Framework of Collective Bargaining in India of the paper Strategic Human Resource Management. By the end of this module, students will be able to understand nature and scope of collective bargaining, process of collective bargaining in different countries, importance of collective bargaining, and future of collective bargaining in India. Process of negotiation between an employer and a group of employees for employment related issues such as working conditions, wages, productivity and the like is called as collective bargaining. The term was coined by Sidney and Beatrice Webb in their book Industrial Society in 1897. The scenario is now changing from fighting for rights to maintaining cooperative and cordial relations. Concept used to be to determine working environment and terms in the contract, facilitate employer-employee relations and regulate relations between employers and trade unions. It is the process by which workers' organizations protect workers' interests, especially their safety and benefits. It promotes mutually agreeable formulation of rules and guidelines. It is collective and not individualistic in nature. Also viewed as unions sharing governance with management. Definitions of collective bargaining. According to Encyclopedia Britannica, collective bargaining is the ongoing process of negotiation between representatives of workers and employers to establish the conditions of employment. The collectively determined agreement may cover not only wages but also hiring practices, layoffs, promotions, job functions, working conditions and hours, worker discipline and termination, and benefit programs. According to Encyclopedia of Social Sciences, collective bargaining is a process of discussion and negotiation between two parties, one or both of whom is a group of persons acting in consent. The resulting bargain is an understanding as to the terms and conditions under which a service is to be performed. More specifically, collective bargaining is a procedure by which employers and a group of employees agree upon the conditions of work. According to International Labour Organization, collective bargaining is about negotiations about working conditions and terms of employment between an employer, a group of employers, or one or more employers, organizations on the one hand and employees on the other hand. Features of collective bargaining. First, flexibility. Flexibility is a key feature of the negotiation process under collective bargaining. Such flexibility ensures that a win-win is created for all parties involved in the process. Essentially, a successful collective bargaining is an exercise in graceful retreat without something to retreat. The second key feature is that there generally are two participants or parties involved in this process, where one or both initiate a dialogue based on facts and trust for the process. The process is free of animosity and resentment and is based on mutually agreeable terms. Third is, it is a process of continuous improvement towards the sustainable welfare of employees and development of plans. It helps in building and improving employee relations. Fourth, as a participative mechanism, it provides a platform towards industrial democracy. This helps in checking of monopolization and arbitrariness in decision making by any of the parties. Approaches to collective bargaining. Collective bargaining involves persuasion and negotiation, and the parties involved in bargaining should know when to do what. So, it can be approached from three perspectives: as a process of social change, as a peace treaty between the conflicting parties, and as a system of industrial jurisprudence. Process of social change. Collective bargaining, a technique of bringing about a change in the balance of power between employers and employees. It helps the inferior social class or groups exert pressure on the powerful group for a bigger share in social, economic, and political power. It is perceived as a tool for resolving industrial disputes. It is the balancing of interests of company and workers, or making it a little more favorable to the workers in the balancing of power. There is peace treaty between conflicting parties, and it is understood as a peace treaty in a continual conflict. Each party would like to break the treaty at the earliest opportunity and come forward with new list of demands, including previously unsatisfied ones. Promoting a constructive climate and positive relations between unions and management is important here. System of industrial jurisprudence. Introducing civil rights that the management deals with the labor by rules rather than arbitrary decisions. It helps resolve industrial disputes, developing procedures that allow people to be flexible while increasing the chances of reaching a favorable compromise. Let's now understand the principles of collective bargaining. The first principle is that both the union representatives and the employer must be made well versed by either party about the correct situation on their respective sides. Meaning, the union leaders must make the employers aware of the employee grievances, and the employer must make the former aware of cost challenges in case of non-commitment to the union's demands. Second is the process of collective bargaining must be entered with a mindset of creating a win for the other party and not with a planned compromise towards the other side. Third principle is the union representatives and management must have respect for each other while entering negotiations, and they must be well versed with and ready to comply with workers' laws, whatever applicable, and to any agreements that have been mutually agreed upon in the past. Let's now discuss the types of collective bargaining. First, single plant bargaining. It is the kind of bargaining that occurs between representatives of management of a single plant and its trade union. This kind of one-to-one bargaining is existent in United States of America and India. Second is multiple plant bargaining. This kind of bargaining is prevalent between employer and trade unions in situations where the employer has 2 or more plants and workers are employed in all of them. Third is multiple employers bargaining. When workers' unions and not a single employer but an organization representing all employees, all employers in a particular industry enters into the bargaining process, such type of bargaining is multiple employers bargaining. A classic scenario of the same could be doctors' unions versus Indian Medical Association or bank employees' unions versus Indian Bank Association. Stages of collective bargaining. 3 main stages of the collective bargaining process are: first, the identification stage, the stage where the management and the workers' unions or employees finalize whether negotiations have to be entered now or sometime later in future. While in this stage, the influencers or determining factors are the choice of representatives, their level of awareness of the root cause of the issues, the size of the representative body that would enter the negotiation period, etc. Second is negotiation stage. The stage in which negotiation is entered into is called negotiation stage. Characteristics of this stage is that the entire process of bargaining is presided over by the chief representative from the management side. He or she lays down the agenda and scope of negotiation and then understands the views of both parties. He or she then facilitates a win-win situation for both parties. Third stage is the stage of contract administration. Collective bargaining agreement should include following essentials: motive of the agreement, rights and responsibilities of the management and the unions, terms and conditions of employment of workers, method of handling grievance, dispute settlement mechanism and its procedures, and termination clause for closing the agreement. Failure of collective bargaining in India are due to various reasons. First, problem with the unions such as absence of strong unions, multiplicity and inter and intra-union rivalries. Second, lack of initiatives by the government for the development of the process of collective bargaining. Third, easy accessibility of adjudication leading to loss of sheen for collective bargaining. Fourth, political interference in union matters and inter-party rivalry causing inter-union rivalry. Fifth, negative attitude of management. The National Commission of Labour has made the following recommendations for the success of collective bargaining. First, limited intervention by the government and usage of compulsory education at the last resort. Second, strengthening the Trade Union Act 1926 through various incorporations such as compulsory registration of trade unions, enhancing of membership fee, reduction of external influence on trade union bodies and office bearer. So, what is the future of collective bargaining in India? Labour institutions are compatible with the government's officially promoted industrial pluralism and bilateral collective bargaining. The employers, for dealing with militant union leaders, have started adopting the strategy of outsourcing from non-union location. Rapid industrialization and minimum industrial strife in collective voice framework. Declining employment elasticities. More output can be attained with less employment, more so with capital intensive technology. Collective bargaining across the world. Worker unions can enter into collective bargaining based on interest issues but not on right issues. Economic, institutional and political environments have a bearing on the kind of effect that collective bargaining has on economic performance of firms and the well-being of workers. Global trade union federations and international trade union organizations striving hard to secure cross-border cooperation between trade unions to coordinate worker representations and collective bargaining not only at local industry and national level but also at the regional and international level. So, what are the policies and practices associated with collective bargaining? Decentralization of the process of collective bargaining to leverage the local market conditions. Each distinct profit center should be treated separately, and the bargaining strategy of management should vary accordingly. Established companies have begun or should begin to place less faith in the continued pursuit of detailed productivity agreements and are instead looking at a wide span of initiatives beyond collective bargaining. Balance between industrial relations and new human resource approaches has shown signs of adjustment. So students, let's now summarize what we have studied in this module. Initially introduced in order to depict all the negotiations and collective arguments that took place between management and the union, collective bargaining has become very important tool for the management as well as the employees. It saves both money and time, thereby maintaining cordial and cooperative relations with workers. Different countries opt for different methods for exercising collective bargaining and cover different aspects. It provides a platform for both the workers and the management to negotiate over their demands and wants in a peaceful manner. Thank you.